Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene, where empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world. My name is Susanne Reynolds. I use pronouns she, her. And with me today are several members and friends of our church coming together to help us celebrate Earth Day. We have Dennis Reynolds, Bob Fraley, Saro Hendrickson, Dave Decou, Sue Craig, Ron Hess, and Martha Snyder. Also with us is our wonderful collaborative pianist Susanne Giordano, board member Daniel Blades, and behind the scenes, working tech and keeping us all together is Kat Johnson. Welcome. And now I'd like to introduce our board president, Daniel Blades.
Thank you, Susanne. As we heard recently from our ministerial search team, UUCE's official candidate for settled ministry, Reverend Jennifer Rue, has been chosen. We will have the opportunity to live into our fifth principle through participating in candidating week events and in the congressional vote that will decide whether to call Rev Jen as our settled minister. You will receive an electronic ballot by email on Sunday, April 25th, and will have nearly a week to reflect and vote. We can receive your votes online, and instructions will be provided with your electronic ballot. If an electronic ballot will not work for you, but you do use email, please contact Frankie Hill to request a PDF ballot you can print. Frankie's email will be dropped in chat. Folks who already receive our newsletter by postal mail will be sent a paper ballot by mail. And if you'd also like one, please contact Izzy at the office by April 21st at 3 p.m. so we can mail it in time. All completed paper ballots can be placed in the church drop box by the main entrance. If sent very early, they can also be mailed to the church, but it's not guaranteed that those will reach us by the deadline. Here's the critical part. We need to receive all ballots by noon on Sunday, May 2nd. And when they are tallied shortly thereafter, we will announce the results. So keep an eye out for your ballot email, and please check any odd folders your mail may sometimes be misdirected into. And please, please vote. The greater the participation and approval we see in this vote, the more confidently Reverend Jen can hear our call and make her final decision. Please remember that only UUCE members can vote, and that every adult UUCE member in a given household should cast their own vote separately. If you have any questions about your membership, please contact the office. Your board of trustees is honored to be part of this crucial and exciting decision-making process, and grateful to our search team for bringing us to UUCE's next chapter. And now, a word from Dave Decou of the ministerial search team.
I'm here on behalf of your ministerial search team, also known as the MIST. We are so delighted to be at this point in our search where we can invite you to participate in candidating week and meet Reverend Jennifer Rue. On Saturday, April 24th, Rev Jen will arrive in Eugene and meet our board of directors for a Zoom dinner. Beginning the next day, Rev Jen will serve as our minister for the week, working in the minister's office and attending to whatever church business may arise. Rev Lowe will not be at UUCE for the week starting April 25th through May 2nd. On Sunday, April 25th, Rev Jen will Zoom through the day, both literally and figuratively, attending Spirit Jam, leading worship, visiting during coffee hour, and meeting our youth. Rev Jen will also meet by Zoom with staff, ministry, and leadership groups, families, and 3 all-comers gatherings. The calendar for the week's activities will be available in the newsletter, on the website, and on Facebook. And there must be, and there just might be a game or some other fun activity along the way. So be sure to tune in and turn out for candidating week as your schedule allows. While all that is going on, you will receive information via email about your most important responsibility in this process, casting your vote. The MIST enthusiastically and unanimously chose Rev Jen to be our candidate, but it is you who will decide whether she will become our settled minister. On May 2nd, Rev Jen will again lead worship, after which we will hold a congregational meeting by Zoom and tally the vote. So we ask you to view the calendar of meetings, which will be posted tomorrow. Find a time when you can connect with Rev Jen, encourage your friends and family who are eligible to vote to do so, and then vote yourself by noon on May 2nd. If you have questions along the way, members of the ministerial search team are ready and eager to answer them. You can contact us at the email address in the chat, uucesearch@uueugene.org. Thank you for your support and your trust and the privilege of serving you and the church in this way. From the ministerial search team. Now, please join us in singing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
On this wonderful Sunday evening, spring is unfolding all around us. Each day we see leaves emerging and flowers blossoming. Birds are returning from their long migrations. We live in a miraculous world with the interconnected web of life. We light this chalice as we join with our community in worship. This Earth Day service reminds us that we are all keepers of the earth, our earth, which supports all of our lives.
Our call to worship this morning is adapted from words spoken to this congregation on many Sundays by the Reverend Carolyn Colbert. We are loving and caring people. We love and we care for the earth. Yet sometimes we forget. We come together in church to remember. I invite you now into a time of shared meditation and contemplation. And the form I'd like you to join me in this morning is a movement meditation. I want you to sit in a way that's comfortable for you. There's often a recommendation of thinking of straight and solid back and loose and comfortable front. This is not a time to hold that tummy tight, but to just relax so that you can breathe easily and deeply in and out. And I invite you to open your hands before you. Your hands open to the rain and the sun and to the rain we pray for, and all that the earth and the sky give to us each day. And then I invite you to breathe in deeply and bring whatever comes to you to your heart. Hold it for a moment. And then exhale as you open your hands and let it go. Remembering that it is all so fragile, then open hands to receive again. Receiving, inhale, bring it to your heart and hold. Exhale and let it go, remembering its fragility. Open, receive, hold, let it go. Just hold it. Now take one cleansing breath in deeply and out. I'm Reverend Dennis Reynolds. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm a mostly retired Unitarian Universalist minister and proud to again be a member of this congregation. This morning, instead of a sermon, we will hear from a number of members of our congregation who have in a variety of ways been keepers of the earth. Each has their own story and a message to share, all strung together on the shared thread of earth care. We do know that many others in their own ways are also keepers of the earth. But before we hear from our speakers, I want to take just a brief amount of time to honor and acknowledge the people who were here for many centuries, the keepers of this beautiful part of the earth we now call our home. The Kalapuya Ilahi people long called the southern Willamette Valley, as we now name it, their home. They carefully managed the grasslands and oak savanna and lived in harmony with other species. When they were dispossessed of the lands, they became members of the confederated tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Siletz. Many live and work here still. Now let's hear some from members of our congregation. We hope you will be informed and inspired. First is Daniel Blades.
Good morning to all of you again. As some of you may know, my wife and I live on a small farm outside of Cottage Grove where we raise beef cattle. As we celebrate Earth Day today, it causes me to reflect on our essential connections to the earth. My experiences as a small-scale farmer lead me to conclude we are all part of the earth. ultimately inseparable from the earth. Our seventh principle tells us about the interconnected web of life of which we are all a part. Farming has led me to believe that this metaphor of web doesn't quite capture what we truly are. We are not, I think, individual strands bound together. Instead, I see us as all one living being with waves of life flowing between our seeming separation, making us literally connected at all times. It's been by the growing of food that I have come to recognize this connection most clearly. As I said, I raise beef cattle, but I also cut and bale the hay that feeds them over winter. The grass grows with little help from me beyond rotating the cattle among their fields to ensure the grass is not all eaten as it grows. But the grass is dependent on the rains of the winter and spring, the warmth and light of the sun, and the complex living soil. Soil is an incredible mixture of living organisms, decaying organic matter, including manure, minerals, the atmosphere, and water. And while we can analyze its many components, soil is not reducible to them, but instead is an incredible synthesis. Here we can see integral connections of one crucial aspect of our living being. Throughout the year, our cattle is fed by our pasture. During the late fall and winter, it's my job to bring them hay. The hay is a store of all the elements of the pasture: soil, water, air, sunlight. And by the work of cutting and baling, this store of summer's bounty is available for the cattle during the dark, cold months. In a real way, summer has been extended into winter. Life has been extended itself temporally and been transformed into the flesh of living cattle. It's one of life's great paradoxes that living things are dependent upon the death of other living things. Whether we directly consume once living organisms, such as meat or wheat, or indirectly, as the pasture now in the beef, or the compost we put on our gardens. Virtually all organisms require the death of other organisms for sustenance. For me, this is a vitally important reason to treat all living beings with care. I try as best as I can not to be wasteful of any organic material, and I hope to always get better. I see this as an acknowledgement of my interconnectedness with life, indeed my complete embeddedness in life. The cattle we raise nourish many people, some my close family, friends, and neighbors, some whom I'll never know. With this, the connections are spread even further. While I don't expect my family to allow this, I have a fantasy that when it's my time for my death, I will go up the hill behind my house, lay myself down, and then pass away. And in my death, I become nourishment for many other beings and continue the greater living being of which we are all a part. Saro Hendrickson will be our next speaker.
Thank you, Daniel. 10 years ago, we were recycling and reusing our new church. And in the process of that deconstruction and reconstruction, we sculpted the 13th Street side of the building to be a rain garden to soak up the storm water that comes down off the ceiling. I have a piece.
The roof.
Gretchen, come help me.
What's the matter?
I got a thing in the middle.
Just
Oh, web, make that go away.
make that go away. Hold on a second. I gotta see it. Are we done? There we go. We don't want that.
Make it go away.
I'm trying. Can you just ignore it?
Sure, I'll just ignore it.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you for your patience, people. It's a real bitch to be old. Rain garden, which is there on the south side of the church, takes the water from the downspouts on the east side, guides it through our 7 ponds, which we call the 7 Cs, until it gets to the storm sewer at the west end. We've planted this area with near native plants. There are flowers, foliage, bird food, pollinator hosts throughout the seasons. We've worked on building much more habitat for birds. There are many more birds there than there were years ago. And we even have a garter snake garden. The Earth Action Group has got their group together to plant edibles on the site. So we have raspberries and we have blueberries and we have a fig tree for you all to enjoy. We have a compost heap, which is not as active now that we're not putting the same amounts of UU coffee grounds into the compost as we did when we were at the building, but it still recycles things. The vegetable garden, which is on the east side of the church, was a demonstration garden that we worked on with Food for Account to help folks learn how to garden, to learn how to bring food from their earth. In the meantime, it's going to be a garden full of vegetables, and the vegetables will creep out to the rest of the foliage gardens. You may see vegetables almost anywhere on the grounds. Please, please come by and walk. Take a time to walk around the church gardens. The rain gardens are not in the middle of anywhere that you have to walk through to get from here to there, but they're a lovely meditative walk. Then there's the building half of the Buildings and Grounds Committee. They've spent the last year on projects that are hard to do while the building is in use and responding to our pandemic. We've modified the HVAC system to increase filtering, to bring more outside air into the building for maximum ventilation. Lighting is being replaced to reduce energy. Low volatile organic compound paints have been used when we repainted much of the halls and the big interior spaces. Actually, the Building and Grounds Committee is really good at conserving energy. About any Tuesday morning, you're welcome to come by to work and sit around with us as we conserve our energy and sip Eric's high octane coffee. We conserve physical energy and we generate good social energy. Shout out here to the small group ministry who for their service project brings the Building and Ground Committee snacks. Surely you want to be part of us. We are blessed to have this church space and the church building. And when we return again, it will be to a safer, smarter, and fresher building. But things are complicated. The tent city of our unhoused neighbors across 13th Street serves as a constant reminder to me, particularly of our privilege as we try to protect and defend and maintain our own landscape and building. It is easy to notice our society and our culture's tolerance for waste and abuse when so many of us have so much and so little have so very little. So few have so very little. On Earth Day, as on every other day, we can remember how very complicated and very interrelated all this stuff is. It's complicated. And it's good work. Please come join us. Let me introduce next David Decou, another complicated and sustainable member of our church. David?
Thank you, Saro. Having been an organic farmer for about 30 years and having served the organic industry by serving on several boards for the industry in the 90s and the aughts, I am reminded of a saying: for the simplicity on this side of complexity, I wouldn't give a fig. But for the simplicity on the other side of complexity, for that, I would give you anything I have. That's from Oliver Wendell Holmes. Organic farmers have their own type of simplicity in their farming. Organic farmers are different than conventional farmers. and also different than gardeners, organic or not organic gardeners. Instead of identifying an issue and whacking it with a major chemical, an organic farmer needs to understand what they have done to create the issue, and then create conditions which do not stimulate the problem. It sometimes takes a year or more to implement a solution. A gardener is often willing to spend hours solving these problems by hand because one of their joys is in the doing. Whereas an organic farmer has to consider the cost of his activities because theirs is a business with both income and expenses. One learns just how insignificant one is when a tiny aphid ruins an entire crop and a year's efforts. Quite a learning experience. I moved to Western Oregon from Southern New Jersey in the 80s and rented an older orchard in Pleasant Hill. The orchard had apples, peaches, pears, and cherries. In New Jersey, I had been raised on my father's farm, which was a large apple and peach orchard. Upon arriving in Oregon, my father told me, "Do not ask me how to raise apples and peaches in Oregon. I only know how to raise them in New Jersey." Every location is different. The issues are different, and the solutions are unique to each part of the earth. This does not sound very simple, but once you understand your location, you can enhance it with often simple things. For a farmer, that is often growing of cover crops, using long rotations to prevent disease issues, bringing in beneficial insects to minimize other insect issues. But how one implements solutions will vary according to the part of the earth you are on and the crops you choose to grow. What works in the temperate zones is different than what works in the tropics. Also, what works on this side of the mountains is different than what works east of the mountains. One needs to know one spot on the earth. It is often the diversity of that spot which fosters its resilience. In the current time, with climate change, a farmer needs to be particularly observant because even one's local environment is changing. Here, it appears that our weather patterns are moving north. There's more rain in Washington than Oregon now. And sometimes the simplicity beyond complexity is found by looking at earlier weather patterns from the south. California's weather is moving to ours. Not necessarily what my plan was, but it is what I'm living. And now I'd like you to hear from Sue Craig.
Good morning. And I am supposed to speak to you on plastics, but I know so many of you, and I know how hard it is to recycle all this plastic. And as you are aware, recycling plastic is kind of an impossible situation. So this morning, let's take a little bit different tack. First of all, we need to think about other things than recycling the way we have. And first of all, we need all those glass containers back for food and beverage and build in the recycling as part of it. Second of all, let's think about some other things that would replace plastic. I've been looking into hemp fiber, not the drug type stuff, but the fiber. And I have found that in Fort Morgan, Colorado, they are growing hemp and processing it and producing paper products, which they are using as packaging in place of plastic. And there's another place in Washington, there's a business called Earth Merchant, and EPA just gave them $100,000 to put together bricks made out of hemp. Isn't that a cool idea? And evidently it's something that's been done for centuries, and they're just looking into how to do it and make it more profitable here. Now, we're not doing any of that here in Oregon. And there's no reason in the world why we can't. And if we think of all the farmers involved and the kind of machinery that would be needed to produce all this kind of stuff, and the salespeople that we would have. These are green jobs, and I think this is something we really, really need to think about. Another thing to think about is bamboo and bamboo fibers. Plastic microfibers from polyester are contaminating our water systems, as we know. And bamboo can be made into the most wonderful cloth. It's just soft and beautiful, and they can make sheets out of it. And they're actually doing this. You can buy them here in Eugene, sheets and clothing. And if they can be made, they're not, I don't think they're being made here. There's no reason why we can't do that. Again, think of green jobs. So we truly are called to be keepers of this earth. And you know me, I've always got these crazy ideas, and I would love you. I'm going to ask you this morning to kind of join me in learning a whole bunch more about this, and including people who are farmers, people who are looking into possibilities of production of this kind of thing, and whatever else. I'm pretty sure we can come up with a lot of other things. We have good imaginations. So I hope you will join me in doing something like this and really pushing our legislature, our farmers, our business people into getting into this kind of effort to help save our earth. Thank you very much. And now I want to introduce Ron Hess, who has some incredible ideas about what he's doing.
Good morning. I work with Interfaith Earth Keepers. We encourage people to live in harmony with the earth in their personal lives and to engage in education, advocacy, and action. Personally, physically working on the land comforts me and renews me. Solomon, who is quite famous for his wisdom, recognized late in life that it's our lot to work, and that we're never more happy than when we have meaningful work. I'm not sure if I'm unmuted. I think I'm okay. I just got a message here, but I think unless I get further information, I'm going to keep going. Springtime, after the winter and 4 difficult years here, seems especially full of promise. My wife and I enjoy watching apple, plum, cherry, fig, strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, lettuce, chard, bok choy, asparagus, artichokes, rhubarb, onions, leeks, garlic, and potatoes. And the growth is really especially reassuring this year. But we know the earth's in trouble, and we know that we're running out of time in which to act. The good news is we're not alone. Climate change news reports now are common across the country and across the world. There are large numbers of people, organizations, and groups and events that are focused on these issues. Business investment is changing dramatically, and politics is following. It is a little difficult to keep up, but the Interfaith Earth Keepers news blog will do that for you. We monitor the news across the planet as well as our local news, and provide that for you. Educating yourself, though, is not enough. It matters what you do. It matters what you say in conversations with the people in your day-to-day life. It matters how you spend your spare time. Eldridge Cleaver said that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. We need our entire national and world community to act decisively to stop the greenhouse effect. This means stopping the use of fossil fuels as quickly as is possible and employing mitigation, drawdown, and regenerative strategies. Earth Day is coming. It's this Thursday. Interfaith Earth Keepers is showing the movie Kiss the Ground, which is narrated by Woody Harrelson and shows the rather remarkable potential for regenerative agriculture to dramatically help us heal the planet. It's well worth seeing, and it's free. You can look for the link on our website, interfaith-earthkeepers.org, and it should be in your chat here today as well. Together we can do what needs to be done. Together we are doing what needs to be done. Thank you. And I think we're going back to Dennis now.
I want to thank you all for your sharing and for your continued work as keepers of the earth. And now, because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, we have slides from Janet and Gary Russell's small farm.
Good morning. I'm happy to lead you into our joys and sorrows. In keeping with the Earth Day theme this morning, we'd ask that you'd share your joys and sorrows for the future of our Earth. Do you have a favorite routine you do with the Earth's health in mind? Do you write letters to our statesmen and our stateswomen in praise of or protest of their choices? Do you grow your own food or plug in your car? How do you or your family engage in environmental practices in caring for our planet? I'm very impressed by the comments that have been running in chat. Thank you for your comments of joys and sorrows. We will include them along with your photos, if relevant, in our soon-to-be redesigned Earth Action website. We invite those of all ages to join the Earth Action Committee to be part of the work for the future of our environment. Our Zoom meeting is after the service each month, the fourth Sunday at 11:30. The Zoom link is offered in the Connections newsletter. Next meeting will be April 25th at 11:30. And don't forget, Arbor Day is coming. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you for your generosity and for the many ways you seek to be keepers of the earth. And thank you this morning for spending a few more minutes in shared community as we honor the earth and those many ways of being keepers of the earth. And now please join us in singing our closing hymn, number 1064 from our hymnal, The Blue Boat Home.
We extinguish the chalice and go forth into the world to become keepers of the earth, each in our own way. We go forth to serve our world, though it means transforming ourselves. We do this empowered by the love that we have for the earth, for our church community, and for our friends and neighbors. Amen and blessed be.